Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Lindsay.
We have been friends since high school and are both teachers and moms now. This podcast is a place to share weird stories, ask strange questions, and maybe get to the bottom of some of life's most bizarre mysteries.
But probably not.
Right. This is not an educational podcast unless you educate us.
All right, Amanda, what you got for me today?
All right. Do you want to start with what's haunting you? What's haunting you from our last podcast? I can tell you what's haunting me.
Please,
if you want.
because right now, nothing.
Drawing a blank? I draw a blank.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's haunting me is most of the people that I've seen who channel, they channel someone from the future, a higher intelligence. But Ramtha was 35,000 years old.
Yeah.
I don't think
really, what can he bring to the table? The brains were sizes of walnuts.
Exactly. So
that's a good point.
It's just kind of another reason.
And also, Atlantis
really
has not been proven to even exist ever.
Yeah.
So not only is he freaking ancient, but also he might as well be Aquaman. Like, honestly.
Yeah, or you would think he could tell us where Atlantis is. I couldn't tell you where all the places I've been are, but I could give
tell
you
us where
rough,
to dig, dude.
I could give you a rough estimate.
Run that LiDAR over the Aegean Sea or whatever it is,
I don't know
and
what
we'll
you just
find
said.
it.
What's
LiDAR is an acronym that is for something super high tech and intelligent. They fly these drones and these planes over, and it has this like ground penetrating radar, and they can map through like dense jungle and hard rock.
Cool.
And it's really, really neat.
That's really cool.
There's no LiDAR evidence of Atlantis.
No. So thanks, Ramtha.
Yeah.
For bringing
nothing.
All right, here's our story today. Our story today is a little bit creepy.
Oh, good.
We got Halloween coming up.
Spooky season.
If you get too scared, we can turn the lights on.
Well, thanks to menopause, I'm not really sleeping anyway, so it's all good.
All right, no worries then. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions to start out. So tell me what you know about castles. Specifically, like, what's the purpose of castles?
Oh, I'm so excited because I'm going to see so many castles this summer in Europe with my family. I'm very excited. First family trip to Europe. But I've been to Europe before, and the castles that I visited were big structures meant to fortify against people trying to infiltrate the royalty that lived within.
Yes.
Or the high-ranking people that lived within. And then if you got in, sometimes there was a jail or a torture chamber or a dungeon or whatever you want to call it. So it was like kind of a compound meant to keep in the ultra-rich and powerful and keep out any impending threat.
Invaders.
Yeah.
Yes. That is perfect description. I think sometimes people from the towns could like run in if there was an invader. They could run in and the castle would protect them. Okay, tell me about all the things castles have for protection, like the different pieces.
Obviously vampires.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Oh.
No, I mean...
so moats.
Yes, moats.
And drawbridges.
Yep.
And those big gates that like... the big chain raising and lowering of the gates with the big spikes on the end.
I think that's called a portcullis. Portcullis?
That is hilarious. It also sounds like belly button to me. Like, that's just a funny word. Yeah. Okay. The portcullis. We could say that pretend it's French.
Portcullis. Plural.
Careful. Now we're getting dirty. Okay. What else is that? Turrets. Watchtowers. Tiny little windows.
Yes.
They're cold and dank and dark. And like candlelit and just creepy as all get out.
I like that you said that because the castle I'm going to tell you about was built in the Gothic style. So
that's
you can picture it. They also have ramparts, and they have...
What are ramparts? Is wood something? Is made out of wood?
I actually don't know.
The ramparts. What am I talking about? Isn't there something in the Star Spangled Banner about ramparts?
Ramparts, red glare.
No, that's the Rockets' red glare.
Rampart.
Now, do we have to sing the whole thing really in fast forward?
Oh,
say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Proudly we hail at the dawn.
I already lost.
Forgot the words. So anti-American. It's late.
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched
were so gallantly streaming.
So something you can watch.
What the hell is a rampart, and why is it streaming?
I don't know.
Ramparts.
But I was looking up castles and the things they have for protection. Ramparts was in there. They also have murder holes, which
that is the name of our future tavern. When we open a bar, it's going to be the murder hole. You've heard of the watering hole. Well,
I can't breathe.
The local murder hole. Oh, God. Okay.
I love your laugh so much. When you laugh, it makes me so happy. Okay, so
thank you for making me laugh. That was awesome.
Murder holes are...
So sorry.
Murder holes are for dropping boiling oil or tar through the murder
Too much. That is the definition of overkill. They did some horrendous things in the medieval era.
Oh, yeah, they did.
For torture, like the drawing and quartering and like de-gutting people. And it was like not enough to just cut their heads off or shoot them through the heart with an arrow. It had to be completely barbaric, disgusting, vile, horrendous, awful, evil.
All
just
the words.
Sick.
All the words. Yep. Really violent times. Medieval times.
And let's bring our kids to watch.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, castles also had something called hoardings, which were overhanging galleries for dropping stones and arrows and, more murderous, horrible, violent things.
Okay.
Okay, so we've painted a nice picture of a castle.
Nice picture. So lovely in the springtime with our hoardings and murder holes. And ramparts doing whatever ramparting do.
I wanted everybody to understand what a castle is and how it's put together, because I'm going to tell you about a castle that's different. This castle is built backwards.
What?
Or
inside out?
With the defenses on the inside. So instead of being...
Who are they trying to keep in?
That's what the story is about.
Vampires.
Yes, instead of trying to protect things from coming in,
what?
They're trying to protect things from coming out.
Oh, Lord.
Have you heard of this castle?
No, but all I can think is Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's all I can picture right now is something something evil or perceived evil that you'd want to keep in. Mm-hmm. And that you would go to that great length and expense to do it is wild. I cannot wait.
Yeah, you're like this story. It's creepy.
I've never heard of something like this, so this is new.
I want to take you on an adventure to Prague. We're going to Prague, the Czech Republic.
The land of my husband's people.
Is it?
Yes, Slovaks.
Okay. And this is in the 13th century, the second half of the 13th century.
Okay. That is the 1200s, not the 1300s.
Correct. And we're going 30 miles north of Prague.
Prague.
This castle is called Castle Houska.
Okay.
And it was...
Sounds nice.
Sure. And it was built by the King of Bohemia, Ottokar II.
Bohemia was a real place?
Yes.
Not just a...
Well, Bohemia was at least a...
Not just the home of a really great rhapsody?
I'm pretty sure, I was just reading about it today, and Bohemia was a whole bunch of lands that we know of today. So the Czech Republic area all the way to England.
Like the Ottoman Empire or the Roman, it was a bunch of different, now we know them as different separate nations.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
Do you want me to go off topic for a second and tell you some fun facts about Ottokar?
Always.
Ottokar is a relative of the good King Wenceslas.
The good King Wenceslas came down on the feast of Stephen. Yes, I know him well.
Great singing. Yeah, so he's a relative of him, and he also, the king that reigned after this guy, Ottokar, was Rudolf Habsburg. Have you heard of the Habsburgs?
Yes. The Habsburgs versus there was some battle in time that was no, maybe I'm thinking of the Hatfields versus McCoys.
You're thinking of the Hatfields and
but
the
I
McCoys.
think the Habsburgs are a famous European family. For sure, I've heard of the Habsburgs.
They're very famous. They're infamous.
Yes.
And similar
there's a lot of inbreeding.
There's inbreeding. Maybe that's why you're thinking of the Hatfields and McCoys.
Oh, yeah, because there was some of that there, too.
That inbreeding went on. All the royals kept marrying each other, and it created genetic disorders.
Yeah, it didn't work out for them.
No, just don't marry your sister.
But
quite unattractive if you look at the paintings.
Wow.
Fun facts. Everything you learned about in history kind of starts to come together here. Okay, this Castle Houska, was built with no kitchen. It's not on any trade routes. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. There was no water source. It was never intended for people to live there.
Seems like a waste of money.
Yeah. And in fact, in the original design, they didn't even have stairs or any openings that went into the courtyard in the center of the castle.
Okay.
So why would you build a castle like that?
Sort of reminds me of like the Winchester Mystery House. Although it did serve, she lived there. Sarah Winchester did live there, but it also had all of these doors and stairwells and things that went nowhere.
Right.
But this sounds really not a home for something, but a prison for something.
You're so onto it.
Okay.
You creeped out yet?
A little bit.
Okay, before the castle was built, this area is made out of limestone.
Oh, God. Okay.
Limestone. Yep. You've heard that, like, a lot of paranormal things.
Lots and lots of paranormal stuff related to limestone and water. But there's no water, just limestone?
Well,
where did they get the limestone?
Water. I don't know. I didn't think about that.
They must have brought it in from far away.
I think what I mean by no water is
no running water.
It wasn't like a livable
well.
It wasn't intended to be lived in.
Got you. Okay.
Limestone, a lot of ghost hunters have a limestone theory because they think paranormal activity is more frequent around limestone.
Yep. It is a noted difference in places made of or built on or around limestone.
Yeah, I was looking it up today and it says the chemical makeup of limestone is similar to magnetic recording tape. So it can capture and store energy. It enhances electromagnetic fields.
There you go.
Or EMFs.
Yep, that'll do it every time. Energy, everything's just energy.
Mm-hmm. So this part of the world it's like a hill of limestone, and one day the limestone cracked, and a deep, I love your face right now, a deep cavern. So a deep cavern came out of the crack. It was so deep, this like chasm, that the people who lived around there, they tried to fill it with rocks, but they'd throw a rock in and they wouldn't ever hear it land.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of those deep holes that doesn't end. And people started to complain about paranormal things happening around this big hole.
Gateway to hell.
That's exactly what they called it.
That is crazy.
Yeah. They called it the gateway to hell.
Because this is in the 1200s. I mean, shoot, if that happened today. In fact, it was in like the 1960s that there was a similar hole not too far from here in Ellensburg, Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of stories surrounding that hole. It's like, I forget what it's called, but it's named after the guy whose farm it was on. It's
right.
Like Albert's Hole or something like that. That's not it, but it's something like that. So even in recent history, people will equate it to all kinds of mystery and wonder. And so I can imagine in the 1200s, this was like, literally, they've probably thought it was the gates of hell have opened and we can hear things and imagine things and we've got to seal it up.
Yes.
Okay.
You know where this story's going. You've already figured it out. Because you're right. The people who lived there complained of a horrible smell of like sulfur coming out of the hole. Strange sounds coming out of the hole. And
like escaping gases and things like geysers and sulfuric acid and things like that, of course. But they didn't have the science to explain it yet.
They didn't have the science to explain it. And I don't know if there's any science to explain some of the things they claim came out of the hole.
No, okay.
So things started crawling out of the hole.
No, crawling is never good.
The people claim that animal-human hybrids came out of the hole. Specifically, something that looked like a human with a bullfrog's head.
Oh, come on. Come on. Like, that's just silly. If it's crawling out of a hole, it should at least be threatening.
Yes.
But also, that's... Okay.
You don't think that would be scary?
Well, heck yes, it would be scary, but it's not the scariest thing I can think of. So then it's like, well, okay, why? Like, okay, it's just fascinating. I would think they would imagine something more sort of tied to mythology of some kind, but maybe that is a part of that part of Europe's mythology. I don't know. I don't know how influenced they were by Roman or Greek mythology, or did they have their own legends and lore, and was the bullfrog symbolic in some way or something like that? I don't know.
I don't know. I wish that I did, so I could answer that for you, but I didn't. I didn't find anything.
It's okay.
But I know that they were highly religious. There were pagans and Christians there.
Which tends to lead to some conflict.
Yep. Other things came out of the hole. Dark-winged, otherworldly creatures. So, like, dark, shadowy creatures with big, leathery black wings.
Never good. We got the Mothman.
It reminds me of Mothman.
Yep.
Or vampires.
Yeah, or the monkeys in Wizard of Oz.
The winged monkeys. That's probably where this story came from.
That's where they came from with their little hats.
From this hole in Prague. Prague.
Prague.
Prague.
Prague.
Nice. They also claim demonic beasts, like, you know, your typical demonic beasts that they would have
the typical demonic beast, as you know.
Crawling out of the hole, terrorizing the people who lived in the area. And there weren't a lot of people. It was really off the grid, so there weren't a lot of people around there. But the few that lived there were not having a good time. So this King Ottokar, is like, well, I got to protect my people. So he has his like workers build this castle. They seal up the hole. They build this castle that's intended to keep everything in and from getting out.
Fair.
Then they also build a temple on top of it. So they construct this like chapel. There's a chapel dedicated to Archangel Michael.
Okay.
They put artwork on the walls that you can still see if you go there today. So there's artwork of Michael fighting off demons. And then there's also pagan symbols.
Oh, that's cool. So they shared it.
They shared it. I get the feeling that King Ottokar was like,
whatever it takes. Throw it at it.
Put it on there.
Yep. We don't know.
Put salt around it and garlic.
Salt them and burn them. And
yep. Yeah, and all the different things he built into the castle to like keep things inside. Super creepy.
Like murder holes.
Got to go back a little bit in time. Okay. So before they built the castle, the king had all these prisoners, like you do when you're a king. All these like horrible people, thieves and murderers. He had them in his jail. And he says to them, hey, I'll make a deal with you. I'll pardon you if you will go down this hole and tell us what you see.
Well, it can't get much worse, really. If you're spending all of the rest of your life in a dark dungeon cell doing nothing, you might as well take the chance.
Yeah. I'm sure these people were going to be murdered, beheaded, or
just starve to death.
Yeah.
Or just be wet and cold and nibbled at by rats. Like, throw me in the hole.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah.
If you're saying there's a chance.
If you're saying there's a chance, I'll take it.
Yep. Every time.
That's how they felt. So here's the story. They lower the first guy down, the first prisoner, down the hole with a rope. And they're all like leaning over to see what they can hear. And they hear him start screaming after he gets lowered down a little bit. Screaming. And they pull him up. And he looks like he's aged 30 years. His hair's gone white.
What?
Yeah. Which actually, I was looking it up, is a thing that maybe could happen. Like they've done experiments with scaring rats and their hair's turned white. And
that's horrible.
Yeah. And there's a whole thing with like, who's the queen who's like, let them eat cake.
Oh.
Why can't I think of her name?
Oh my gosh. Antoinette. Marie Antoinette.
So there's an Antoinette syndrome where your hair turns suddenly white because hers turned white when she was like running and they were gonna kill her and she got so scared.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean,
I'm sorry, Marie Antoinette. The whole thing was terrible, but
I know. And I should say I'm not an expert. I'm really like, I appreciate all these other people who've had a lot more time in their life than I do, who've put on things on their blogs.
We're synthesizing.
I'm synthesizing, so can't take anything I say.
Antoinette syndrome. True. Interesting. Okay. But aging 30 years?
Yeah, he came up just completely different person. He had aged 30 years. He was screaming. He was babbling like a lunatic. They weren't able to get a lot out of him.
So he couldn't explain what he saw?
Couldn't even explain what he saw. And so after he came out, they were like, okay, we're going to let this guy rest a little bit and then maybe he can tell us.
Check again in the morning.
Yeah, but he was just a babbling lunatic for 2 days and then he died.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Yeah, and worse than that, all the other prisoners that they did, the same thing happened to them. So they just kept sending guys down, hoping to find out what's in the hole. And the same thing would happen. They'd pull them out. Their hair was white. They'd be a lunatic and they'd die 2 days later.
Could it be that they were exposed to radiation or... Yeah, that's all I could think of. It was like severe radiation or burns, radiation sickness. That's what I'm thinking of, which has happened. And that's happened like at the ranch that shall not be named that we've watched a show about. There's been incidents of that they've looked in holes and wells and things and then got minor radiation burns and blacked out and things like that. So I'm wondering if there is a scientific explanation for it. beyond paranormal.
Probably.
But even if it is scientific, it's still freaking weird.
Yeah. There's something weird about this.
But also, can you imagine? I'm picturing the line of prisoners in their shaggy little potato sack prisoner things, standing there in their bare feet, shackled at the ankles to one another, going, "Okie dokie." Well, that was guy number 32, and I'm standing at 35. Do you think it's gonna get any better? Probably not. But it feels too late.
Excuse me, sir, I've changed my mind.
Yeah, can I go back to the rats nibbling on my toes, please?
I love it. All right, what else can I tell you about this castle? During World War II, the Nazis took over the territory and they took over this castle.
Seems apropos.
Yeah, supposedly they used it for experiments of the occult, like trying to build paranormal weapons. People claimed all kinds of weird noises and lights.
You don't put anything past the Nazis, man.
There's
ridiculous.
There's a lot of Nazi stories about them, like, doing all kinds of weird paranormal experiments.
They did a lot of horrendous experiments of all kinds. Paranormal, the least of my worries, to be honest.
Yeah.
All the things that they've done. Obviously most of us have learned a lot about the Holocaust and Nazi Germany in our education growing up here in the United States. And then I went to the Holocaust Museum this last summer in Washington, D.C., and just seeing it all, like, in a very, what's the opposite of diluted? Like, concentrated area all at once, and all the videos, and one of the big sections is about the experimentation that they would do on the Jewish internment camp victims and other types of prisoners, because it wasn't just the Jews they were after.
Right. Horrible.
So nothing shocks me about whatever they might have been doing.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's true or anything's true, but it's just part of the history of Castle Houska. There's also a story about a Swedish practitioner of black magic owned the castle at some point and moved in there. His name was Oronto.
He moved in? Like, where are you putting in? How are you getting your furniture in there? There's no entries or exits, or what are you, airdropping stuff in through the little chapel on top?
I have no idea. But if you go there now, there are openings to go in, because you can go in and do like a haunted tour. So at some point over time, they did put in some.
They burrowed in somehow.
Yeah, somehow they put in more stairwells.
Like, they had to have something that they could to bring stuff in and out of as they were building it from the inside out. It sounds like
maybe they brought things in through the murder holes.
Must have been
Just
little small buckets of rocks at a time.
So, Oronto, the Swedish practitioner of black magic. I love people who have just one name. I want just one name that's cool like that.
They're either cool or problematic. Most of them are cool. Cher, Prince, Madonna, although sometimes problematic. But a lot of them can be problematic as well. So,
like Ye. Kanye.
Yes, that would be one.
Who else has one name that's...
See, now I'm only thinking of pleasant ones like Gandhi. Although he was Mahatma Gandhi, but known throughout history primarily as Gandhi. Beyonce.
Yeah. Anyway, Oronto. I just picture such a cool, tall, skinny guy with like really deep features and a raven on his shoulder.
And meanwhile, I picture the Swedish chef. But instead of kitchen utensils, it's like wands and sputtering cauldrons.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the Swedish chef owns this castle.
He's fantastic.
He's doing diabolical experiments. He's trying to find the elixir of life.
Wow.
Bork, bork, bork. And then the locals were really like freaked out by Oronto, and so eventually 2 locals broke into Castle Houska, and they murdered Oronto.
Doesn't seem like Oronto was the problem.
Probably not.
Seems like he was minding his own dang business. Who's problematic? The people murdering people. Always.
Maybe they were possessed by
whatever's
coming out of the hole.
Murderers.
Yeah, it's a wild times. I'm really glad we didn't live in 1250.
Oh, I would not have lasted long at all.
No. Would you have been Christian or pagan? I think you must choose. I think they make you choose. I don't know.
You think? I think we're still sort of forced into a choice. Golly, paganism probably would have been so much more fun.
Probably, yeah.
But also, I'm kind of a rule follower, and I like my head attached to my neck. So, I might have been, like, outwardly, quote-unquote, Christian, but then behind closed doors.
Do what you need to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to take care of business with Mother Nature at the helm.
I do love imagining King Ottokar just throwing all the religions into the... Ottokar's the king. Yes. Throwing all the religions into the
Ottokar and
like,
Aranto.
to cover his bases. Yeah, they're similar names. Aranto's the Swedish chef.
And Ottokar is the original builder.
Yeah, he's related to
the king who ordered this. Yes. Yeah, he commissioned this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you can go there today if you want. You can go there and check it out.
Add it to the bucket list.
It's been featured on lots of like paranormal shows. It's been on Ghost Hunters International.
Ooh.
Oh, I have a really cool thing to tell you about Ghost Hunters International.
Okay.
So, great show, right?
GHI, I love it.
Yeah. I have a friend who was she worked on the show in the background. Her job was to look through all the footage that they would film over the course of the whole evening when they were doing their paranormal investigations. Painstaking, tedious work. But she was on that team where their whole job was just to sit there and like comb through the video footage with a fine eye. And she told me, I trust this woman completely. She told me everything they found is real. None of it is faked for reality TV. The only thing that they'll do is they'll like kind of cut things in a way so that the pacing is quippy and it's entertaining to watch. But all of the footage that they find is 100% real footage. Very cool. So you could go there. The birds are frequently found dead inside the courtyard around the like sealed up hole.
Yeah, it just is screaming radiation to me. Radiation and high electromagnetic fields.
Well, maybe you shouldn't go there then.
Yeah, I know. Do you go in for $10 and come out white-haired and dead in 2 days?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go.
People claim that they see shadows around the area when they go and do paranormal investigations. Lots of shadows. And they can hear scratching under the stone floor.
Ooh, I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scratching is awful. Anytime you hear a paranormal story that involves scratching or scritching I would just be hoping, please be a family of raccoons living in my walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reminded me, scratching's creepy. But even more creepy is when people get the scratches on their skin.
Right. And it's always in a group of 3 scratches.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'll look for that. I didn't notice that. 3.
Yeah. And it's supposedly tied to... I've heard different things, but supposedly tied to, like, a mocking of the Holy Trinity.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do people go? Did you see if there's a high tourism?
Yeah, people can go.
Wow. I'd love to see. Do you have a picture of this place? I'd love to see what it looks like.
Castle Houska. But it's spelled like a house.
So it's the house castle? The castle house. Oh, it's cute.
Well, it's very cube-shaped.
It is not at all what I expected.
Yeah, so all it is really inside the middle is the courtyard where they built it over the hole.
I'm just looking at it through a picture on the internet, but it's really actually quite stunning. It's got like a turquoise roof and sort of peachy sandstone-y colored, definitely limestone colored exterior walls and lots of little windows and portcullis looking things, archways.
But the windows are to the outside. So on the inside of the courtyard, there isn't, it's like pretty sealed in on the inside. Yeah. There's nothing there. That's what's kind of fascinating about this castle. It's not on a trade route. Like I said, it's not.
Yeah. It's like it was intended to be hidden away, but also if you stumbled upon it, like stay away.
Yeah. It's really cool. I mean, it was just built just to cover up that hole. And like, think of all the time that it would take to build this, how much manpower and how much time and how much money. And it was, 30 miles away from Prague, which is probably where the people kind of mostly lived. So they'd have to travel 30 miles on their horse and buggy or whatever with all their equipment. This is a whole project.
Definitely.
I want to show you an aerial view, though, if I can, because look at this. So this is kind of what it looks like from the top.
Bird's eye view. Okay.
It's just a hole.
It's so benign looking. But yeah, it's absolutely a gaping hole where a courtyard should be inside of this thing. It's funny how beautiful it is. Like, it's a really pretty structure. I was picturing something very like ramshackle, like kind of spindly and just yucky stone. And
so this is a picture of the inside of the courtyard, where this is the hole that's been sealed up right in the middle. It's just a square. It's a square in a square.
Yeah, they didn't put a lot of fancy detail into it by any means, but it is no joke. Like, it is sealed up. Humans are so interesting in how we attempt to solve problems. Like, how about just we don't go there? Like, this thing opened up, seems like it's pretty unhealthy. It's killing people. Weird crap's crawling out of it. Let's move. Like, it's not on a trade route. It's not on water. Yeah. Why are we trying to save... Why do we live here? Go somewhere else.
Maybe he felt like it was a duty to his people to prevent stuff from coming out of the hole.
I feel like there's better ways to spend that money. Like, how about relocate all of those people and set them up with new homes?
Take all the people. We're going to Germany, guys.
Well, there couldn't have been that many. It's the 1200s in the middle of nowhere, Slovakia.
It kind of reminds me of, like, Game of Thrones time, where you're right. Like, who's that guy Ramsay? Like, all of his people just lived in this little area that's about as big as Castle Houska.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Yes, I did. I watched all of it. I can't forgive them, that final episode.
That's it. That's the Castle Houska story.
Holy smokes.
So if you find a hole in the ground, don't
walk
go
away.
in it.
By no means lower yourself down by a rope. If it smells weird, crap's crawling out of it,
don't go in it.
No. Be more evolved than that. If those things are trying to get out of it, we should certainly not be trying to go in.
Absolutely not.
Like, here's your sign. Bullfrog-headed human dude crawling out. I will see you at the local murder hole.
All right. Well, we are a new podcast, and we would love to hear from you. Drop us a message at theparanormalclassroom@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Paranormal Classroom.
Tell us, what should we research next? What do you know that we don't? Fill us in. Or if there's something you're curious about and you just haven't had the time or inkling to research it yourself, tell us.
Class dismissed.
And don't open the door.